analyst, Brandon Huffman. Huff, let's start here. At one point, it looked like Penn State, they're the school to beat for top 247 defensive lineman Benedict Ume. Then Stanford came in with a really strong official, and now there are 4 crystal balls in for him to land with the Cardinal. How did this turn so quickly?
Stanford is still Stanford. Now, they may have had a little bit of a demise on the football field the last couple of years, but when you're a high academic kid, originally from Canada, comes to the U.S. for the education and obviously the football factor into it. Well, when Stanford can present themselves to kids across the country and really across the continent, they become that much more of a threat. And so the official visit comes when Stanford's getting all this momentum with some of the commits that they were able to get in the previous few weeks. And now Stanford is sitting in a pretty position to land the number 1 player in Connecticut. He values academics tremendously. If you look at some of the schools that he visited too, he values football. Wisconsin, Penn State, a couple of the schools that got visits from him. But Duke, there from an academic standpoint, was involved. But then Stanford has that combination of pedigree of defensive linemen getting drafted, of a tremendous degree. You put that combination together, and if you're a parent of a player, it's hard to pass up Stanford when you're presenting all of those options. And so that's why the Cardinal now find themselves at the forefront in his recruitment.
Modern-day teammates Aydin Breland and Brandon Baker are still available, Huff, and this is a question that we get asked, I think, in the YouTube chat every week. What's the latest in both of their recruitments?
Well, it's funny when you say they're still available. In a lot of ways, that could be negatively a connotation that, oh my gosh, nobody wants them. No. Everybody wants these guys. They're the top 2 players in the state of California, and they've got kind of a who's list of schools that are after them. But there's one common thread with both of them, and that is the University of Oregon. We saw the Ducks go into Southern California last year and land Mateo Uiagalelei. So it's no surprise that the Ducks go to Bosco's rival to try to be a presence in there. With Brandon Baker, they have a little bit of an advantage. His older brother Gary played for the Ducks. So Oregon is right there with them, but there is also Ohio State, which has been a presence in Brandon Baker's recruitment for a while. Then you look at Aydin Breland, and you've got Oregon, and then you've got Georgia. Dan Lanning knows a thing or two about Athens, but Kirby Smart knows a thing or two about winning national championships, which he's done the last couple of years with some quality defensive linemen, a number of first-round draft picks on the defensive line. So naturally, Georgia is the factor there for Aydin Breland. But can Oregon go 1 or 2 for 2 at Mater Dei? They would like to think so, but Ohio State and Georgia, those 2 Peach Bowl foes, would like to have a word about trying to get those guys out of the Pac-12 footprint. And Blair, you and I talked about it on our old Let's Pour One Out for the West of the Rest. We used to talk about how teams would come out onto the West Coast and be able to present a compelling case. With so much uncertainty about the Pac-12 right now, Georgia and Ohio State guarantee are hammering those with Breland and with Baker respectively.
All right, we are rocking and rolling on the College Football Recruiting Show, but I have just been informed that less than half of you watching right now have hit that like button. So please go ahead, hit the like button. We love to see that number go up because now we know that you're engaging, you're watching, you're having fun. And also, it's a like button. It is definitely a positive thing. So go ahead and hit that. Speaking of Oregon, though, you got Kamar Mathuti, Dylan Williams, Dewan Riggs. I mean, they're all looking hard at Oregon right now, and the Ducks are already a top 10 team. But if those guys join the fold, I mean, how high is the ceiling for Dan Lanning's 2024 class?
Well, that's what's so scary about what Oregon could do is because they've closed so well historically. They've always done a great job in that December rush or in the February final rush. So they're sitting in a good spot right now with a couple of guys in Breland and Baker, but then with Kamar Mathuti, with Dylan Williams, with Dewan Riggs, with Elijah Rush, and there's so many other players that they could add to this mix that this could end up being a top 5 class nationally, maybe even higher. And I think that this class can only get stronger for Dan Lanning. They're willing to go toe-to-toe with USC in Southern California. They're willing to go toe-to-toe with the Georgias and the Ohio States for West Coast kids. They're willing to go into the backyard of SEC schools and try to compete for those guys as well. So right now we look at where Oregon's sitting, and this is nowhere near where their final mark is going to be. When we talk about Stanford's class, they're done with the majority of their heavy lifting. Oregon is just getting started. So if you can add a Kamar Mathuti and a Dylan Williams into the mix, a Dewan Riggs, that class continues to trend up to be in the top class in the Pac-12, especially come signing day. But now you're in the conversation to potentially be a top 3 to 5 class nationally.
And another player that could join the Quack attack is 5-star elite edge rusher Elijah Rushing, Huff, and he's down to Oregon, Arizona, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Those are the finalists. What are some underlying factors that could be in play here with a week to go?
Well, Blair, nobody has covered his recruitment better than him, better than Elijah Rushing's than you. I mean, you've been on this one from the forefront. And so when you have those 4 schools there, you've kind of cautioned and said, hey, do not sleep on Arizona. He is in Tucson. He is a South Point Catholic product. So you cannot sleep on Arizona there, even though they're kind of one of those old, Sesame Street. One of these teams is not like the other. You got a lot of these blue bloods, but then you have Arizona having that hometown factor. So can Jedd Fisch pull off an absolute coup like he did 2 years ago when they were able to get Tator McMillan out of Southern California, away from USC, away from Oregon? But this would resonate on an even grander scale because you look at those other finalists. Oregon's there. Notre Dame's there as well. So you look at that Final Four and you think Arizona's probably running 4th there. But no, Arizona's very much a factor. Oregon, obviously a huge factor, and you can never sleep with Notre Dame when it's on a private school at a Catholic school. So this one is going to be very fun to watch over the next 7 days to see where he ultimately ends up. But I would not sleep on the hometown Wildcats. Jedd Fisch has them trending upwards. They are more of a factor in this race than I think people are giving them credit for, because they may not have the logo from a football standpoint that the other ones have, but they're very much a factor. Don't sleep on Arizona here.